Hello everyone, tonight we begin in a quiet place. A candle has just been lit. Its small, flickering flame doesn't try to shine, it simply burns. Outside the window, the trees are still, and in this moment you are invited to join them in that stillness. We are exploring something tonight that is famously difficult to describe Zen. And that's not an exaggeration or a tease. Zen by its very nature resists definition. It is the pathless path, the teaching beyond words, the wisdom that arrives when concepts fall away. You may already know that. And still, the mind wants something, a handle, a headline, a shape to hold on to. But Zen slips through all of that like water through your fingers. So before you get too comfortable, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're here with me, drop a comment to let me know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on a fan for some gentle noise, and let's embark on tonight's journey together. The soundless beginning. Zen begins not in thought, but in the quiet space beneath it. Picture this. You are sitting in a small room. The walls are plain. The floor is bare. Nothing moves. Nothing speaks. Even your breath has begun to soften. And in this pause, you sense something. It isn't an idea. It's not a teaching you can quote. It doesn't come with labels or lineage, but it feels alive, present, silent in the most intimate way. This is where Zen begins, in the quiet, in the wordless encounter with what is, not what should be, not what was, just what is. Zen is not a philosophy, though it has produced wise thinkers. Zen is not a religion in the usual sense, though it's deeply rooted in Buddhism. Zen is more like this, a finger pointing to the moon. But if you stare at the finger, you'll miss the moon. So Zen doesn't give you the finger. It whispers, "Look." And then it falls silent. In Japanese, the word Zen comes from Chan, which comes from the Sanskrit word dhyana, which means meditation. But not meditation in the sense of doing something. It means deep presence, unfiltered awareness, a wakefulness so pure that even the idea of you watching begins to dissolve. Now maybe your mind wants to say, so, is Zen just sitting in silence? Well, yes, but also no, because the just sitting can't be forced. You can't fake it. You can't turn Zen into a strategy. Zen doesn't care how still your body is if your mind is chasing thoughts like a cat after a feather. But here's the secret. Even that chasing is welcome. Zen doesn't reject what you are. It gently peels away what you think you are. Let me offer you something. Not a definition, but a moment. A kind of koan. You're sitting outside. The sun is rising. You can hear a bird calling in the distance. What's missing? Nothing. What's extra? Nothing. That's Zen. It is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a way of being that returns you to what is already whole. Now you may be thinking, well, that sounds beautiful, but how do I do it? And Zen smiles, because the moment you say how you have already taken a step too far, but gently, Zen invites you back to this breath, to this sensation of sitting, to this awareness of listening. You are not asked to change anything, only to be aware of what is already here. And even that awareness doesn't have to be sharp. It can be cloudy. It can be tired. It can be imperfect. Zen embraces it all. I once heard a teacher say, Zen is like standing under a waterfall until your thoughts wash away. But you don't chase the waterfall. You don't scream at it to flow. You simply stand. and wait. And eventually, you forget even that you are standing, and only silence remains. If all of this feels mysterious, that's okay. Zen is not here to give you answers. It's here to give you the question back emptied, of panic cleared of rush. Zen is the space in which the question and the answer fall away, and all that's left is listening. So tonight, we listen. You've arrived here listening, breathing, and in this silence, there's a shift, not loud, not even clear, but a deep unknowing opens. And that too is Zen, because Zen begins not with knowledge, but with the courage to let go of knowing. A question without an answer. You come to Zen with a question, but Zen does not reply with words. We all come to this life with questions, some spoken, some buried under years of distraction. You might not even be aware of the question anymore, but it shows up in the way you search, ache, strive. Maybe it sounds like, what is the meaning of this life? How do I find peace? What am I supposed to be? And if you bring that question to Zen, you may expect an answer, a sentence, a principle, a truth. But instead, you might receive a pause, a story that makes no sense, a laugh, or silence. To the logical mind, this seems evasive. It wants conclusions. It wants clarity, like a math equation. But Zen doesn't solve your life. It dissolves the frame of the question itself. And here is the paradox. When the question dissolves, so does the suffering. Because suffering arises from friction, from clinging, from wanting what is not, from resisting what is. And so the question is often born from that friction. It's a grasping towards something understanding identity escape. But Zen leads you gently in the other direction, not toward the answer, but toward a freedom beyond the need for answers. There's a famous Zen story. A student asked the master, "What is the ultimate truth of Buddhism?" The master replied, "The cypress tree in the courtyard. No doctrine, no philosophy, just the tree. The sound of the wind in its branches. The way the light touches its bark. That's the truth. Right here. No explanation needed, but not everyone hears it. Why? Because we're so used to translating life into thoughts, to filtering everything through words. But Zen says, words are not the thing. Words point, but they are not the moon. So when you ask a Zen master a question, you may receive a slap, or a shout, or a gaze that pierces through the bones of thought itself. These are not answers. They are awakenings. Moments that shatter the illusion that truth lives in concepts. You might ask now, so am I supposed to stop thinking? No. That would be another thought, another ideal to chase. Zen is not anti-thinking, but it is beyond thinking. It doesn't ask you to suppress the mind, only to stop believing it holds all the keys. Imagine this, you walk through a garden. A thought says, that is a rose. Another says, it smells nice. But Zen whispers, don't just name it, be it. Feel the petal in your breath. Let the scent dissolve your boundary, not separate, not analyzing, just presence. You see, Zen invites you to taste life directly, before interpretation, before commentary, before turning it into a story about yourself. That is why Zen is hard to explain, because it's not about explanation. It's about intimacy, not with a doctrine, but with this moment. Another story. A student came to ask, what is the way? The master replied, your ordinary mind, that is the way. The student said, should I direct myself toward it? The master said, if you try to direct yourself, you go away from it. The student asked, but how can I know it if I don't direct myself? The master said, "The way is not in knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion. Not knowing is blankness. If you truly reach the way, you will find it as vast and boundless as outer space." Now pause here with me. Vast and boundless as outer space. Can you feel that in your chest? In the silence between words? That's not something to figure out. It's something to receive. Like rain on your skin. Like moonlight on a still lake. The mind wants the road to be linear. Steps, milestones. But Zen says there is no path because there is nowhere to go. You are already here. You are already this. The cypress tree, the rose, the laughter of the master, the breath you're taking right now. No need to seek. But if you must seek, let that seeking dissolve gently until all that's left is the question itself, glowing quietly in the dark, not needing an answer, just existing beautifully as what it is. The moon and the finger. Sometimes in the dark, someone points toward the moon. Their finger extends upward, cutting the sky. You follow the gesture. And instead of gazing at the moon, you stare at the finger. This is the most common mistake we make in seeking wisdom. We confuse the teaching for the truth, the map for the territory, the words for the experience. The Zen masters often say, "Do not mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself." And tonight, I gently invite you to sit with that image, because it holds something profoundly important. Imagine this. A child sees the moon for the first time, eyes wide, mouth open in quiet awe. They don't yet know the word moon. They only feel something bright, silent, mystical. Then someone says, "That is the moon." The spell breaks a little. The experience is now labeled, sorted, filed in the mind. And while that word may be helpful, it is also a boundary. It separates you from the thing itself. This is what Zen constantly nudges us to notice. That life is not just made of things, it is made of direct experience. Zen does not deny the usefulness of teachings, but it keeps reminding us teachings are not the destination. They are boats to cross the river. Once you're on the other side, you don't carry the boat on your back. So what is the moon? Not something you understand, not something you capture in thought. It's what is experienced before thought arises. Zen is that moment, before naming, before measuring, just presence, just being. In our spiritual life, it's easy to become entangled in the finger. We cling to texts, rituals, philosophies. We recite words again and again until they become like fingerprints smudged over a mirror. But what Zen teaches is to polish the mirror until it reflects reality clearly, or sometimes until the mirror itself disappears. There's a story of a monk asking the master, "What is the essence of the Dharma?" The master replied, "This rice has too much water. That's it. No grand theory. Just the present moment, fully alive, undivided." Because Zen points to the sacred in the ordinary, the way tea is poured, the shape of a stone, the sound of wind brushing your sleeves. In that small noticing, a door opens, not outward, but inward, into the vast space of suchness. So, what do we do with all the words, all the sutras and teachings Zen would say? Use them lightly, respectfully, but don't cling. Hold them like petals in your hand. Appreciate their beauty, but know that truth lives in the fragrance, not the form. Maybe that's why Zen monks love nature so much, because the trees don't argue, the rivers don't teach doctrines, They just are. And in that silent being, we are invited to remember what we've forgotten. Tonight, as you listen, you don't need to grasp. You don't need to analyze. Let these words be the finger. But let your heart lift toward the moon, not to reach it, not to hold it, but simply to bask in its light. Still, calm, undivided. So when someone says Zen is emptiness or Zen is non-duality, know that these are just fingers, each one pointing, but none containing. And in your own journey, there may come a moment when you sit quietly and something opens. You may not be able to explain it, and that's good, because truth doesn't always need a name. In fact, it often disappears the moment we try to describe it, just like the moon. When you try to put it in a box, it slips through the cracks. But when you simply sit, eyes soft, mind clear, the moon is just there, shining. You don't need to understand it. You only need to see. No, mind no thing, no self. There's a strange peace that comes when you no longer need to be anyone. It's not the kind of peace the world often advertises, not found in achievement, reputation, or even clarity. It's the quiet that emerges when all identities soften, when labels fall off like autumn leaves, and you just sit as you are. In Zen, this space is sometimes called no mind mushin, but don't mistake that for having no mind at all. It doesn't mean blankness or being void of awareness. It means a mind not fixed, not caught, a mind like an open sky, where clouds come and go, but the sky never clings to them. You may have heard the phrase, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. It comes from the Heart Sutra, a cornerstone of Zen wisdom. What does it mean? You might think it's a paradox. But Zen isn't trying to confuse you. It's offering you a door beyond concepts. Form is what you see this table, this breath, this moment. Emptiness is what allows form to be. It is the space, the fluidity, the non-thingness beneath the thing. Zen says, don't get stuck in form, but also don't get stuck in emptiness. See both simultaneously, like waves in the ocean. Waves rise and fall, but they're never separate from water. So too, your thoughts rise and fall, but you are not your thoughts. Let's say that again. You are not your thoughts. You are not your story. You are not even your name. You are awareness itself. In Zen, there's no need to build a solid self. You don't need to keep proving that you're someone. In fact, the less you try to be someone, the more your natural self shines through. Have you ever watched a cat sit in the sun? It doesn't try to be graceful. It just is. Completely. Zen invites you to sit like that. No performance. No internal narration. Just this moment without adornment. Some traditions speak of enlightenment as gaining something. Zen turns that gently around. It says, you don't gain, you lose. You lose the burden of becoming. You lose the heaviness of identity. Until one day, sitting quietly, you forget to be someone. And what remains is stillness. No self doesn't mean you don't exist. It means the fixed idea of you is unnecessary. It's like a knot untying. The tighter you try to pull, the tighter it becomes. But when you let go, it loosens. Zen helps you loosen. There's a lovely old koan. A monk asks, "What is my true self?" The master replies, "Who is asking?" That's it. The question turns inward and keeps turning until the self who asked disappears into the asking. Right now, as you lie down or sit listening, Feel the edges of identity soften. You don't need to be the one with the answers. You don't need to be the one who understands Zen. You just need to be here, breathing, aware, present. Let you drift into the background and let the moment come forward. No mind, no thing, no self. Some people fear that idea. They think, if there is no self, then what is left? But here's the secret. When the small self quiets, the whole world becomes yourself. The tree outside your window, the sound of distant traffic, the warmth of your blanket. Nothing is outside you. Nothing is separate. Zen isn't trying to erase you. It's trying to free you so that you can live like the wind unbound, invisible, but deeply felt. A Zen master once said, to find yourself, lose yourself completely. So tonight, in this gentle space, you are invited to forget yourself. Not in a careless way, but in a way that lets you melt into the stillness around you. No need to carry your history. No need to worry about tomorrow. Just this, only this. And when the morning comes and you step back into the world, you may find yourself smiling a little more easily. Not because you've solved everything, but because for a moment you remembered how light it feels not to be someone at all. The teacup already broken. Let's take a quiet walk now into a small sunlit room in a distant monastery. A master sits there holding a fragile porcelain teacup. It's beautiful white with a faint blue swirl, delicate as breath. And then he says something unexpected. I treat this cup as if it is already broken. At first it sounds strange. Why would he say that? Why would anyone treasure something while believing it's already lost? But in this single sentence lies a deep Zen truth. A truth about impermanence, about release, about peace. You and I live in a world that clings. We hold on to things, objects, people, plans, versions of ourselves. We say, this must last. This cannot change. This must stay exactly as it is. But Zen gently opens your fingers. It says, everything is already changing. Nothing you see will remain in its current form. Not the teacup, not the tree outside, not your reflection in the mirror. And this is not bad news. It is a kind of grace. Because once you understand that things are fleeting, you stop gripping so tightly. You stop expecting permanence from things that are not built to last. You begin to love more tenderly, to live more lightly, to breathe more freely. Imagine holding your favorite object, maybe a book or a gift from someone you love. Now, what if you knew with certainty that one day it would be gone? Wouldn't you savor it more? Wouldn't you run your fingers over it with more awareness, more gratitude? That's what the Zen master meant. The cup is already broken, so he holds it with care. He drinks from it with full presence. And when the day comes that it slips and shatters, he bows. He doesn't resist. You see, it's not about being indifferent. It's about seeing clearly. It's about loving with open hands, not clenched fists. When you live as though everything is temporary, you stop missing your own life. Let's take this deeper. You can apply the same wisdom to people, to relationships, to time. One day, you and I will part, not just from this moment, but from this life. Zen doesn't avoid that truth. It embraces it. And in doing so, it transforms how we show up right now. So tonight, as you listen, you might bring to mind someone you care about. And you might say silently to yourself, this too is temporary. This person, this love, this pain, it will change. You are not saying goodbye. You are saying, I see you clearly. I'm awake to the gift of your presence. Zen calls this living with awareness, not dramatizing, not denying, just being here, knowing that here will pass. The teacup is already broken, and yet it is still in our hands. Can you feel the paradox? You don't have to choose between care and release. You can care deeply and still let go. That's the way. And sometimes things break suddenly. A friendship ends. A health diagnosis arrives. A moment of joy slips through your fingers. You might feel shock, grief, confusion. Zen doesn't tell you to bypass that. It simply reminds you this is the nature of all things. And when the wave of sadness rises, you meet it. You bow to it. You let it pass. Like the teacup, like the breath, like the moment, already broken, already whole. There's another teaching here. When you see life as impermanent, you begin to forgive more easily. You stop carrying old wounds so tightly. You realize this grudge too is fragile. It will break. Let it go now before it shatters you. Zen invites you into a kind of quiet bravery. To live fully, knowing everything will change. To open your heart, knowing it may break. To sip tea with both hands, knowing that even the tea, even the hands, even this night will not return. And yet how beautiful it is. Exactly because it is brief. So maybe tonight you place something beside your bed. A flower, a photo, a small candle. Not to keep it forever, but to honor it now. To live this moment like a ceremony. Nothing casual, nothing wasted, everything holy. The cup is already broken, and somehow that makes the tea even sweeter. Sitting with nothing to attain. There's a room somewhere simple, quiet sun streaming through wooden slats. And in the middle of the room, you sit, not to become someone, not to achieve a spiritual badge, not to gain enlightenment. You sit, just to sit, and that's already everything. Zen calls this Zazen seated meditation, but even that name can be misleading. It's not meditation to reach a result. It's not concentration with a prize at the end. It's not an effort to become more spiritual, more still, more Zen. It is just sitting, being with what is. And in that simplicity, something extraordinary happens. Nothing and yet everything. You sit with your breath, not to change it, not to control it, just to notice it. You sit with your thoughts, not to banish them, not to chase them, just to see them rise and fall. And the most surprising part, you discover that you don't need to do anything. You don't need to fix the mind. You don't need to adjust the heart. In that quiet sitting, there is a profound permission to be as you are. No polish, no pose, no improvement needed. You might notice discomfort. Your knees ache. Your back complains. You notice a memory. An old shame stirs. You notice desire, a craving for something to distract you. And still, you sit, not fighting, not clinging, just witnessing. And the more you stay, the more you realize even this restlessness will pass. Even this boredom will shift. Even this thought is already gone. Zen doesn't ask you to conquer the mind. It only asks, can you sit with it? Can you stop running? Can you stay? There's an old Zen saying, when you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. At first glance, it sounds almost too simple. But listen again. It's pointing toward a radical presence. No multitasking, no internal commentary, no craving for the next moment. Just this exact breath, this weight of the body on the cushion, this sound in the background, this flicker of sensation, and nothing to do with it. Just receive it. Modern life rarely gives us that. We're so used to being told to improve, fix, change, grow. Even meditation gets marketed as a tool for productivity or calm, as if we're still trying to be better humans. But Zazen quietly smiles at all that. It says, you're already whole. There's nothing to attain, just sit. And yet something curious happens. When you stop trying to change, you change. Not because of effort, but because of spaciousness. Because when you stop struggling with your thoughts, they lose their grip. When you stop running from discomfort, it softens. When you allow the moment to be what it is, you begin to glimpse the freedom of Zen. Not a flashy freedom, not the fireworks of awakening, but a soft inner settling. Like dust in sunlight slowly descending. Zen Master Dogen once wrote, "To study the Buddha, way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things." It sounds mysterious, maybe even cryptic. But when you sit, you start to feel it. Yourself, your name, your role, your opinions. They start to soften, and in their place the world begins to appear, not as separate, but as part of you. The rustle of trees becomes your breath. The chirp of a bird becomes your thought. The silence becomes your companion. You don't merge with anything. You just realize there was never a line to begin with. This is why Zen teachers often say don't meditate to become enlightened. Just sit. Because the moment you seek, you separate. You create a self who wants something else. And Zen is about dissolving that separation. So tonight, as you listen, you might imagine yourself sitting quietly on a cushion or even on your bed. Back straight, hands resting. Eyes half closed. No goal, no rush. Just this. Let the breath move gently. Let the thoughts rise like bubbles. Let the stillness surround you. You don't need to escape the moment. You just need to stop turning away from it. Zen is not about effort. It's about attention. It's about presence without agenda. And in that space, there is peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because nothing is demanded. So the next time you feel the urge to fix yourself to seek some better state, remember, you can just sit and let the sitting be enough. In that act alone, you are already free. The sound of one hand clapping. There's a monk. He sits before the master. His eyes are steady, his posture alert. And the master asks him a question. What is the sound of one hand clapping silence? The monk blinks. He waits for more. There is no more. That is the question. It's a famous Zen Koan. Maybe you've heard it before. And maybe like most people, you've tried to answer it. You imagined a clever reply. Or perhaps you waved your hand in the air, trying to create that sound. But here's the secret. There is no answer. Not in the way you're used to. Koans aren't riddles. They're not puzzles to be solved. They are doors. Not doors you can unlock with logic, but doors that ask you to drop logic altogether. You don't get through by thinking harder. You get through by not thinking at all, by sitting with the question until the question dissolves and something wordless arises in its place. In Zen, a Koan is not a test of intelligence. It's a mirror for your mind. And when you peer into it, you don't find a reflection. You find emptiness. You find stillness. You find yourself. You might ask, why such strange questions? Why not just speak plainly? Because Zen is trying to reach a part of you that words cannot touch. The part of you that lives before language, before thoughts, before you even say I am. Koans are like lightning. They strike the mind. They burn away your categories. Right, wrong. Yes, no. Self, other. All gone in a flash. And what remains? A quiet clarity. A seeing that cannot be spoken. Only lived. A student once asked the master, "What is Buddha?" The master said, "A dry shit stick. Crude, maybe. Shocking, definitely." But in that moment, he broke the student's mind, shattered the expectation, stripped away the reverence, left only raw presence. Because that is Zen. It does not point to sacred ideals. It points to this, to now, to you before you filter it. You can't study Zen with only your mind. It's like trying to taste honey by reading the label. You have to taste. You have to be the honey. And koans help you drop the spoon, drop the book, drop the self, so that what remains is silence. But not an empty silence. A silence that sees. A silence that knows. A silence that laughs. You might be wondering, how do you practice with a koan? You don't think about it. You live with it. You carry it inside you, like a pebble in your shoe, like a tiny flame you protect in wind. You sit with it. You breathe with it. You return to it when you feel lost. And slowly, the koan works on you. Not because you're trying, but because it's alive. Zen practice is full of these moments, questions that break you open. Show me your original face before your parents were born. Does a dog have Buddha nature? Why did Bodhidharma come from the West? None of these are meant to be answered. They're meant to be entered. Like a room with no walls. Like a path with no steps. You don't understand a koan. You become it. You become the sound of one hand. You become the laugh of the monk. You become the wind that moves, even when everything else is still. And maybe that sounds hard. Maybe it feels confusing. That's okay. Zen is not here to explain everything. It's here to take your hand and gently guide you past explanation, into experience, into awakening, into the quiet knowing that was always yours. Tonight as you listen, let the koan be your companion. Let it sit beside you, wordless and alive. You don't have to solve it. Just breathe with it. Just let it echo. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Don't answer. Don't think. Just feel the question in your bones. And then let go. Let it vanish. And rest in the space it leaves behind. Zen is not an answer. Zen is a mirror. A mirror that asks nothing of you except this: be here, now, with nothing to solve, nothing to grasp, nothing to resist. Just this. Just this. Zen is ordinary mind. Do you remember the last time you folded laundry or washed a bowl after dinner? Not rushing. Not thinking ahead. Just folding. Just washing. There in that moment, you may have touched Zen. You may not have noticed, because nothing special happened. There was no breakthrough. No lightning bolt of wisdom. Just warm water and a clean bowl. And yet, if you were fully there, that was Zen. A student once asked the great master, "Mazu, what is the way?" Mazu replied, "Ordinary mind is the way. But what is this ordinary mind? It's not laziness, not distraction. not aimless drifting. It is the mind before it grasps, the heart before it clings, the presence that doesn't chase or resist anything. When you walk, just walk. When you sit, just sit. When you eat, just eat. Simple, but not easy. Ordinary mind doesn't mean common or mediocre. It means nothing is added. It is the pure presence of what's happening now. No filters, no judgments, no storylines. Just breath entering and leaving. Just sensations rising and passing. Just this step and then the next. In our modern lives, we're told to seek more knowledge, more experience, more achievement. But Zen quietly says, you already have it. Not it as in some secret power, but it as in life itself. You are not lacking. You are not late. You are already walking the way. When you walk with no agenda. Mazu didn't say find a special state of mind. He said, let the mind be ordinary. Let it return to its own stillness, its own rhythm, its own unadorned beauty. The leaf doesn't try to be a flower. The moon doesn't envy the sun. Each is complete, and so are you, but we don't believe it. We think awakening must feel different, more spiritual, more dramatic. So we chase. And the more we chase, the further we drift from the stillness that never left us. What if, right now, as you're lying in bed, listening to this voice, you could meet that ordinary mind. No pressure, no goal, no need to grasp any insight. Just relax into presence. This inhale, this moment, this gentle space in your heart. Already enough. In Zen, there's a saying, when hungry, eat. When tired, sleep. So simple it sounds like a joke, but it's the deepest teaching. Can you eat when eating, not scrolling, not worrying, not thinking of the next task? Just eat. Fully, lovingly, present. That's Zen. Ordinary mind doesn't fight life. It allows life. It bows to joy. It bows to sorrow. It bows to uncertainty. And in that bow, there is peace. A monk once asked Joshu, what is the way? Joshu said, your everyday mind. But the monk replied, if it's ordinary, how can it be the way? Joshu answered, the way is not something apart from your life. It is not picking and choosing. Not picking and choosing. Meaning, not clinging to what you like. Not rejecting what you dislike. Just welcoming everything. Like a wide sky holds the weather. You see, ordinary mind is not passive. It's clear. It's alive. It's the soft gaze that meets each moment without wanting it to be anything else. It's the quiet awareness that knows the pain is here and lets it be here without turning away. It's so subtle. That's why we overlook it. It's not hidden. It's just always here. But because it's not flashy, we think we need to find something. But Zen says stop, look, feel. The way is already under your feet, even when you're tired, even when you doubt, even now. So tonight, as you rest under the blanket of silence, let yourself be ordinary. Let yourself be whole. No fixing, no performing, no spiritual ideal to reach. Just you, breathing, alive, here. That's all Zen asks, and it's more than enough. Don't seek the Buddha. Once long ago, a young seeker approached a Zen master. Eyes filled with longing, voice trembling with urgency, he asked, Master, how do I find the Buddha? The master paused, looked deeply into the seeker's eyes, and simply said, if you seek the Buddha, you lose the Buddha. That answer, so simple, so paradoxical, unsettled the seeker. But it is the heart of Zen. You and I, we seek peace. We seek answers. We seek something more. But Zen gently whispers, every act of seeking takes you further from the very thing you seek. Not because the Buddha is far away, but because in seeking, you are always skipping over this moment. Imagine chasing your own shadow. The faster you run, the more it runs too. But when you stop there, it is under your feet. So it is with awakening. So it is with the Buddha. You don't have to chase, you have to stop. Stop running towards some distant ideal. Stop searching for peace as if it were lost. It's not out there. It's here. Now, Zen teaches this not to frustrate you, but to free you. Because as long as you think the Buddha is something else, something you don't yet have, you'll never stop striving. And that striving, it becomes suffering. Not because effort is wrong, but because the assumption behind it is false. The assumption that you're not already whole. When the sixth patriarch Huineng was still an illiterate boy, he overheard a monk chanting the Diamond Sutra, awaken the mind without fixing it anywhere. That line opened his heart. Not because it gave him something, but because it let something fall away. The false idea that he needed to become something else. So tonight, I invite you to let go of the chase. Let go of the search for the perfect meditation. Let go of comparing your spiritual journey with others. Let go of needing to feel a certain way. Don't seek the Buddha. Don't seek peace. Let peace seek you. Let the Buddha inside you look out with your very eyes. In Zen, they say, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Harsh words. Not really. It means don't cling to your idea of the Buddha, because every idea is still a shadow. If you hold on to the image, you miss the living reality. The Buddha is not a statue, not a concept, not a distant goal. The Buddha is awareness, silent, vast. Here, right now as you listen, notice how your breath enters without asking. Notice how stillness wraps around your shoulders like a blanket. Notice how your awareness is already open. No one gave this to you. No effort created it. It's your nature, not something to attain, but something to remember. When you stop trying to be spiritual, you find something more spacious than all your effort. A mind that doesn't need polishing. A heart that doesn't need proving. Just this. Just you. Just now. There is a Zen story of a student asking the master, "How do I enter?" Zen. The master replied, "Do you hear the stream outside?" "Yes," the student said. "Enter from there. Simple, direct. No gates, no passwords. Only what is already happening. That sound of water. That breath rising in your chest. That quiet awareness listening. That is the stream. Enter from there." Zen does not give you a path. It gives you a mirror. And when you look into it deeply, what you find is not another. It's not a god. It's not even a guru. You find yourself. Not the self of name and form, but the self that is no self. Vast, luminous, peaceful. The Buddha nature. So don't seek it like it's missing. Don't wait for a better version of you to show up. Right here, right now, this breath, this moment. Don't seek the Buddha. See with Buddha's eyes, and you may just realize you were never lost. You were just looking too far. Mountains are mountains. Again, there's a saying in Zen. Before enlightenment, mountains are mountains and rivers are rivers. During enlightenment, mountains are no longer mountains and rivers are no longer rivers. After enlightenment, mountains are mountains again. It sounds poetic. It sounds strange. But if you listen closely tonight, You might feel the truth behind those words stir in your chest, like a breeze moving through bamboo. When we first begin our path, before any insight arises, life seems ordinary, solid defined. The tree is just a tree. Your job is just your job. You are just you. Mountains are mountains. Rivers are rivers. Everything has a name, a label, a function. We navigate the world through certainty. But then something shifts. Maybe a loss cracks the surface of comfort. Maybe a deep question won't leave you alone. Maybe you sit down to meditate, and the quiet reveals a world you never knew existed inside you. And suddenly, the world feels different. The tree is no longer just a tree. The breath is no longer just breath. You're no longer sure what you even means. Mountains are no longer mountains. Rivers dissolve into mist. The forms blur, and the boundaries you trusted begin to melt. This is the phase of awakening, of unlearning, of not knowing. You might feel lost here, uncertain. You may find that words no longer help. That silence begins to speak louder than thought. This is Zen pulling you deeper. Not to confuse you, but to show you what's real behind what's familiar. The world hasn't changed, but your eyes are opening. And then after a while, there's a returning. Not a going back, but a circling in. Mountains are mountains again, but you no longer mistake them for just rocks. Now you see them, and the space they arise in. Now you hear the river, and you also hear the stillness beneath its flow. You cook breakfast, sweep the floor, answer an email, but there's a quietness inside that wasn't there before. Zen calls this the return to the ordinary, but it is an ordinary infused with wonder. You see, Zen isn't about escaping life. It's about falling into it completely, not with fear, not with resistance, but with such openness that even doing the dishes becomes sacred. There is no need to go elsewhere, no need to transcend. Because when your heart is still, everything reveals itself as complete. The mountain, your breath, a cup of tea, each becomes a teaching. Each becomes the Buddha. The greatest Zen masters weren't known for grand gestures. They were known for the way they tied their sandals, the way they poured tea, the way they sat without needing to move. Their realization wasn't loud, it was simple. But in that simplicity was boundless depth. That's the beauty of Zen. It strips away the glitter and gives you this moment, this very moment, as it is, and says, can you be with this? And you tonight listening here, you've already begun to see through things. Maybe you've felt the moment when a thought dissolved and all that remained was breath. Maybe you've noticed that even in confusion, there's still something aware, something untouched. That is Zen returning you home. Not to something new, but to what has always been here. The mountain, the river, the sky turning. Nothing changed. But you see now, and that makes all the difference. There is a line from Dogen: to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be awakened by all things. When self drops away, even the wind in the trees can be your teacher. Even your own breath becomes scripture. You don't need visions. You don't need fireworks. Just presence. Just this. So tonight, as you settle, let the mind soften. Let thoughts come and go. Let the breath rise and fall. And if you find yourself noticing, just noticing, then you've already returned. Mountains are mountains again, and your heart is wide open. No need to force anything, No need to figure anything out. Just let the world be as it is, and you as you are. You don't need to understand. You only need to be still enough to see, and perhaps smile at the sheer simplicity of it all. No right, no wrong, just this. Tonight, let's set aside the question of what's right or wrong. Not because morality doesn't matter, but because Zen invites us to discover where true clarity arises from. It isn't from rules. It isn't from debate. It isn't from judging others, or even ourselves. It's from this moment, just this. Nothing added. In Zen, there's a saying, when cold, be completely cold. When hot, be completely hot. There's no escaping, no correcting. Only presence so full, so undivided that life begins to align itself without you needing to decide anything. When the mind is quiet, and you're not clinging to thoughts, you don't need someone to tell you what kindness is. You don't need a book to remind you to listen. Your body listens. Your heart responds. The moment speaks through you. This is Zen's silent morality, but our conditioning runs deep. We are trained to split everything into categories. We carry the burden of deciding what's good, what's bad, what's spiritual, what's worldly. Zen simply smiles. It does not mean we act without awareness. It means awareness becomes the root of all action. When you're fully present, when you're not defending a sense of self, your actions naturally avoid harm. Your words soften. Your decisions flow. And more than anything, you are no longer ruled by fear. Imagine standing beside a stream. You drop a stick into the current. You don't tell it where to go. You just watch it follow the shape of the water. In the same way, when you live from presence, your choices follow the shape of the moment. Not out of passivity, but from a deep attunement that does not resist reality. This is not chaos. It's harmony beyond control. Sometimes the right thing doesn't look right. Sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes you must walk away, even from things you love. But when you act from stillness, even those actions carry peace. There is no ego trying to prove something, no self-image to protect. Just this, and the wisdom that arises from it. A Zen student once asked, "What is the way?" The master replied, "Your everyday mind is the way. That means this breath, this step, this bowl of rice, this moment of sorrow, this moment of joy. You don't have to escape life to be awake. You don't have to achieve perfect moral purity. You just have to stop running. Sit. Let it come. Let it go. Let it teach you. And then respond from that." There's a strange gentleness in Zen. It doesn't demand. It doesn't punish. It shows you over and over that you already know how to walk this path, but only when you stop trying to do it right. Only when you relax into what's here fully. Then decisions arise like wind in the trees. Speech flows like water down the hill. Nothing forced. Nothing withheld. This is not permission to do whatever you want. This is an invitation to be so intimately present that your heart can't help but align with the pulse of truth. And that truth is not outside. It's not handed down. It's discovered in the still gaze you turn inward. It's in the moment when you speak honestly, when you admit you don't know, when you feel your breath before choosing your words. That is Zen's ethic. So tonight, let go of guilt. Let go of needing to prove you're good. Let go of measuring yourself against ideals. Instead, ask gently, "Am I here? Can I feel this fully? Can I see clearly without clinging?" That's enough. From that stillness, right and wrong, will whisper themselves into your heart, and you will know what to do, without struggle, without shame. Just this. Now rest with that. Let your breath move slowly. Let the body be still. Nothing to fix, nothing to prove, nothing missing, only presence. And from presence, peace arises. Before thinking, close your eyes for a moment. Just rest there. Before the next thought arises, before the mind begins to explain, there is a space, a breath, a pause, a moment that contains everything yet says nothing. Zen lives here. Before thinking, before labeling, before comparing, you are already whole. But the moment a thought appears, this is good, this is bad, this is me, this is not me, we leave that wholeness. We step into the maze of concepts, and the world becomes split. But Zen does not reject thinking. It simply invites you to see that thinking is not the root. Thinking is not the source. It is a tool, useful, beautiful, even necessary. But when the tool begins to use us, we become lost. We forget the silence behind the word. A master once held up a bamboo stick. He asked, "What is this?" A monk replied, "A stick." The master struck him with it, not out of anger, but out of fierce compassion. He wanted the student to see, the label isn't the thing. The word stick is not the bamboo itself. And so too with life. We say, tree love pain, peace, but the moment we say it, we're already a step removed. Zen points not to the word, but to what is alive before the word, before the interpretation, before the thought, before the name. Can you rest there? Can you feel what it's like to simply be without defining? There is a strange relief in it, a gentleness, as if the universe is breathing through you without asking for a single thing in return. No name, no goal. Just this being, just this breath. Sometimes thoughts will storm in. I should understand this. I need to quiet my mind. This isn't working. And Zen smiles. It watches those thoughts come, and it does not fight them. It simply waits. Because beyond every thought is the space from which that thought came. That space is not disturbed. It is not confused. It does not need to be fixed. It is already still, already whole. In your daily life, you may forget. You may get swept into emotion. You may judge. You may react. But you can always return, not by force, not by guilt, but by remembering. Before this thought, there is stillness. Before this emotion, there is space. And when you rest in that space, the emotions can rise and fall without drowning you. A student once asked, "What is the essence of Zen?" The master replied, "Go drink tea. Simple, direct, no explanation." Why? Because in the act of tea drinking, there is a moment before thought. Before I like this tea or this needs sugar. There is simply the warm cup in your hands, the steam against your face, the moment as it is. That's the gate. That's the taste of Zen. So tonight sit with me, not to understand, not to become enlightened, but just to return to the place before understanding. Feel your breath, not as an idea, but as the sensation in your chest, the quiet rhythm beneath the words. Notice what it feels like when there is no pressure to think clearly, just the weight of your body, just the air in the room, just the hum of existence. You are not a machine made of thoughts. You are not the product of your plans. You are not your productivity, or your memories, or your achievements. You are this presence, soft, silent, infinite. You are here before you knew your name, and you will be here in the stillness after every thought has passed. That is where Zen lives, and where it invites you to return. Tonight, may you find rest, not by solving your mind, but by stepping before it. Let the thoughts come, let them go, and listen to what remains when you do nothing at all. It has always been here, and it always will be. You are already home. You've spent a long time searching for meaning, for peace, for something to make the ache go away. Sometimes it looks like striving. Sometimes it looks like spiritual practice. Sometimes it just looks like exhaustion. And Zen whispers, you don't need to search anymore. You're already home. The path you walk, it leads back to where you already are, the peace you seek. It's not hidden in scriptures, retreats, or hours of meditation. It's in the chair beneath you, the breath you just took, the moment that's unfolding right now. Zen doesn't give you anything new. It reveals what has always been. There's no spiritual upgrade, no hidden technique, just the slow unveiling of what you never lost. When the Buddha touched the earth and said, "This is my witness," he wasn't claiming authority. He was grounding, right here, right now, not in theories, not in distant heavens, but in the living soil of the present moment. And that is what Zen asks you to feel. Not the idea of enlightenment, not the dream of transcendence, but the simplicity of what is. Look around your room. There's light somewhere, or maybe darkness. There's breath. There's stillness, even if faint, under the buzz of thought. And in this, you are not missing. You are not wrong. You are not outside of anything. You're already home. But the mind resists. It says, there must be more. I haven't arrived. I'm not good enough yet. And Zen, with the softest smile, says, that's just another cloud in the sky. Let it pass. Watch it drift. No need to fight. No need to believe. Just see it for what it is, a thought, not truth. A Zen master once said, stop chasing after enlightenment. Just make your mind like space, not empty in a lifeless way, but vast, receptive, unburdened. When you stop grasping for answers, you find what was never missing. You might have spent years studying, meditating, searching for teachers, trying to be better. But have you ever just sat without an agenda and felt the silence in your chest, not trying to label it, not trying to deepen it, just resting in it? That's it. That's the home Zen speaks of. No roof, no floor, just space and you in the middle of it. A monk once asked, "What is Buddha?" The master replied, "This very mind is Buddha, not a different one, not a purified one, not some cosmic being in robes. This mind, this moment, this you, already complete, already whole. If you need to cry, tonight, cry. If your heart is tired, let it rest. If joy rises, smile without needing to explain. Whatever comes, don't decorate it. Don't resist it. It's all part of home. Even the mess, even the doubt, even the longing. Because Zen is not sterile. It's alive. It breathes with you. It weeps with you. It doesn't need you to be different. So when you sit down tonight, not as a seeker, but as someone who's arrived, notice how your shoulders drop, how the breath moves more freely, how the silence feels less empty and more like a familiar room you forgot you built. This is your place. Always has been. The wandering is over, if only for a while. Now you are home. Beyond sutras and scriptures. In Zen, there's a strange kind of reverence, not for books, not for doctrines, but for silence. You might picture monks reading sacred texts by candlelight, or masters quoting sutras with unwavering authority. But sometimes the most profound teaching is when the teacher says nothing at all. There is a famous story. A student traveled across mountains and rivers to meet a great Zen master. He asked, Please, Master, teach me the truth of Buddhism. The Master just sat still. Minutes passed. Then without a word, the Master closed his eyes. That was the teaching. No explanation. No scripture. No finger pointing to the sky. Just presence. Just being. This doesn't mean Zen is anti-text. The sutras are honored. The words of the Buddha are treasured. But Zen recognizes a danger that words can become walls. When you clutch too tightly to doctrine, you miss the truth breathing through the cracks of experience. You recite, but you don't live. You quote, but you don't see. You carry the raft on your back, long after you've crossed the river. There's another story. A master told his students to gather all the scriptures. They did, stacking them in a great pile. Then he lit a match. The flames devoured the words. The students gasped. And the master said, "When you are free from needing these, you will begin to understand them." In Zen, the real scripture is the moment. The scripture is the way your breath pauses before sleep, the way moonlight falls across your room, the sound of distant thunder in the quiet of night. The Buddha is not just found in books. He is found in boiling water, in a cracked teacup in the wind, brushing your cheek. There's a line from the Platform Sutra, spoken by the sixth patriarch Huineng. The truth is not outside of you. If you look outward, you go astray. You don't need to memorize. You don't need to recite perfect chants. You need to turn inward and be honest with what you find. Even if what you find is confusion, restlessness, or doubt. That too is part of the path. So tonight, let go of needing to understand everything. Let go of trying to fit Zen into words. Feel it instead, in the pause between your inhale and exhale, in the way your hands rest when you stop typing, in the warm weight of your own body finally still. That is the sutra. That is the verse. That is the unwritten scripture Zen has always taught. A Zen monk once said, "When I hear the bell, I become the bell." Can you hear the bell in your life? The sudden silence, the stillness of 2 a.m., the flicker of awareness when everything else falls away. That's Zen. It doesn't need a name. It doesn't need a label. It's not religious. It's not secular. It just is. So tonight, you don't need to read more. You don't need to chase another teaching. You don't need to seek one final insight. Just be here. Just notice. And if your heart softens, if your breath deepens, if the silence feels like coming home, then perhaps you've understood the scripture that cannot be written. Letting the mind be like the sky. Sometimes your thoughts feel like storms. They come with thunder. They shake your peace. They rain worry and restlessness. But above every cloud, the sky is always blue. Zen invites you to stop chasing the clouds. Stop fighting the weather of the mind. Let it all be. And remember the sky. When your thoughts swirl tonight, memories, regrets, fears all knocking for attention, you don't need to fix them. You can simply notice. Watch them drift in. Watch them pass. And silently, you remember. You are not the storm. You are the sky. A Zen teacher once asked a student, "When the wind blows, where does the mind go?" The student didn't know. The teacher said, "Let the wind blow. Let the mind not go anywhere." This is the heart of stillness. Not the absence of motion, but the absence of being swept away. In modern life, we are taught to react, to fix, to solve. But Zen suggests another way. Sit, feel, let it pass. Nothing to fix, nothing broken. The sky doesn't judge the clouds. It welcomes them all. You may have tried to control your mind, to silence every thought, to force peace into your head like packing a suitcase. But true stillness is not forced. It arises when you stop clenching. It blooms when you stop interfering. Like a pond, when undisturbed, becomes clear on its own. So what if your thoughts are busy tonight? Let them be. Notice them gently. Label them like a soft whisper. Worry, memory, judgment. Then come back to the breath, back to the sky, back to the vastness that holds everything without pushing anything away. Zen doesn't demand perfection. It offers presence, a compassionate kind of awareness that doesn't scold or shame. That says you're allowed to feel this, and you're also allowed to let it pass. No pressure, no performance, just resting in the truth of now. Have you ever watched the sky at dusk? How it doesn't resist darkness. It lets the stars arrive in silence. You can be like that too. Your inner sky has room for light and room for night. Both are part of you. A student once asked a master, "How do I quiet the mind?" The master smiled. He pointed to a bamboo grove. "Do you hear the wind in the bamboo?" he asked. The student nodded. The master said, "That is the sound of the mind. Let it blow." So tonight, instead of resisting the storm, try resting beneath it. Instead of silencing thought, witness it from the ground of stillness. Like sitting beneath a tree while the wind moves the branches, but the roots remain unmoved. You have roots like that. Zen helps you find them. Not by teaching you to flee the storm, but by helping you remember you were never the storm in the first place. You were always the sky. The sound of one hand clapping. It's late. The world outside is quiet. But inside your mind, perhaps the thoughts still echo. And in this quiet moment, a riddle comes softly. What is the sound of one hand clapping? You've heard it before. A koan. Strange, unanswerable, and yet unforgettable. Why do Zen teachers offer these riddles that have no answer? Maybe it's because your deepest truth doesn't live in answers. It lives in presence. A koan is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a doorway, but not a doorway to knowledge. A doorway to unknowing, to openness, to wonder. You can't figure it out. You can only live with it. Let it marinate in your awareness until something begins to shift inside you. Not in your mind, but in your being. You might be tempted to ask, so what does the sound of one hand clapping really mean? Zen would gently bow and say, if you answer that question, you've missed the point. Because this riddle, like Zen itself, isn't about arriving. It's about dislodging. It shakes the foundation of ordinary thinking. It stops the gears of analysis. And in that pause, a stillness is born. Imagine you sit quietly now, asking the riddle not with words, but with your whole body. You're not trying to answer. You're becoming the question. And something inside loosens. The grasping mind relaxes. The space between thoughts opens wider. And for a breath, you're just here. Awake, empty, alive. This is Zen's strange gift. It doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you didn't know you needed. A chance to stop searching. A chance to listen to what has no sound. A chance to feel what has no shape. The sound of one hand clapping is not heard with the ears. It is heard with the heart when it has stopped trying. You don't have to get it. Zen isn't a club with answers. It's a path of radical honesty, where you sit with mystery and you don't flinch. You welcome the questions like old friends who arrive without luggage, but carry something precious in their silence. Tonight, let the koan keep you company, not to disturb your rest, but to deepen it. It reminds you that the mind doesn't have to solve everything before you are allowed to rest, that sometimes peace comes not when the riddle is resolved, but when the need to resolve it dissolves. A Zen student once came to his teacher with great excitement. "I've finally understood the sound of one hand clapping," he declared. The master smiled and said, "Go wash your bowl," meaning don't cling, let it go. Even insight is a passing cloud. Even awakening must be released, so you can return to the dishes, to the breath, to the moon rising over your windowsill. That's the deeper invitation. Not to chase awakening like a trophy, but to live it in the folds of the ordinary, in stillness, in humility, in the echo of one hand, meeting nothing and yet everything. Chop wood, carry water. Zen in daily life. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You've probably heard this before. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But within this plain rhythm lies the quiet essence of Zen. It doesn't happen somewhere far off in a temple in the clouds. It happens here, in your kitchen, in your laundry room, in the steps between your front door and the mailbox. Tonight, Zen asks you to let go of the idea that awakening is an escape. It isn't a glittering realm beyond the stars. It is this life seen clearly, lived fully, without trying to make it into anything more or less than it already is. When you wash the dishes, just wash the dishes. When you sweep the floor, just sweep the floor. Not because it's a chore, but because it's the moment you are in. Zen lives in full attention, and full attention doesn't need special effects. The soap, the water, the steam rising, this is sacred, if you let it be. Most people spend their days running ahead, washing dishes while thinking of work, drinking tea while checking the phone, resting in bed while worrying about tomorrow. The body is here, but the mind is miles away. Zen whispers, "Come back. Come back to what you are touching, to what you are breathing, to what you are being. Because this moment is enough. Not just enough, it is everything." You don't have to seek holiness in silence retreats. Holiness is in how you tie your shoes, how you close a door, how you greet your loved ones at the end of a long day. Not rushing, not dragging, just present, even when tired, even when the mind protests. In Zen, there's a reverence for the ordinary, a kind of bowing without bowing, a respect for every breath as a sutra, every task as a bell of mindfulness. So maybe tonight you remember, you don't need to escape life. You just need to stop leaving it before it has even arrived. A student once asked a Zen master, "What is the way?" The master said, "Have you finished your rice?" "Yes." "Then go wash your bowl." That's it. No sermon, no poem, just this. Zen doesn't explain life. It returns you to it. You might think spiritual awakening needs incense or robes, but sometimes it sounds like soap sliding on a plate, or feels like warm tea on your tongue. The point isn't what you're doing, but how fully you are with it, and how lovingly. So, tonight when you turn off the lights, do it slowly. Feel the switch under your fingers. Let the darkness come as a friend. When you fluff your pillow, notice the fabric. Let your breath slow down. This too is Zen. The small gesture, the full heart. Chop wood, carry water, sleep with presence. No mind, no problem, the Zen of emptiness. Tonight, let's pause and touch something very old, an idea that isn't really an idea, a presence that lives beneath the noise. In Zen, they call it no mind. Not a mind that is broken, not a mind that is blank, but a mind that is so clear it no longer clings. No mind isn't dullness. It's clarity. It's the silence behind the wind. It's the space between two thoughts. Think of a still lake at dawn. No ripples, just reflection. Whatever appears is seen clearly, without distortion, without grasping. Zen says that lake is what your mind can be. Not frozen, not empty of content, but empty of resistance. We spend so much energy grasping for answers, for control, for identity. But Zen offers a mirror instead, not to show you who you are, but to show you who you're not. And no-mind thoughts still come. Of course they do, but they come like birds across the sky. You notice them, and you don't follow. You don't chase the bird into the forest. You just watch it fly. And then the sky clears again. This is not suppression. This is not force. It's letting go. A monk once asked, "What is Zen?" The master said, "Eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired. No drama, no philosophy, just presence without commentary." You might feel tonight that your thoughts are too many, too loud, too persistent. That's okay. Even noticing that is part of the journey. Don't try to push them away. Don't scold them. Smile at them like clouds passing over a temple roof. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which they arise. Zen doesn't ask you to believe in anything, not even in Zen. It just invites you to see clearly. And in that clarity, there is peace. No mind means being here before the stories, before the naming, before the grasping. Just this breath, just this sound, just this silence. And so you lie down tonight, not to escape your thoughts, but to rest beside them. They may chatter, they may rise and fall, but you don't have to follow every wave. You are the ocean, not the ripple. Let them come. Let them go. You are still. You are whole. You are enough. Remember, no mind is not an achievement. It is your natural state before effort, before tension. It is what remains when you finally stop trying. No mind, no problem. Just rest. Beyond words, the Zen of direct experience. Words are useful. They carry stories, thoughts, teachings. But Zen whispers they are only fingers pointing to the moon, not the moon itself. Tonight, you are invited to look beyond the finger. To rest in what cannot be spoken yet is always here. A student once asked a Zen master, "What is truth?" The master remained silent. He simply held up a flower. No explanation, no sermon, just a flower in his hand. The student suddenly understood. And in that moment, Zen was alive. We live surrounded by words, thoughts about thoughts, names for feelings, labels for the self. But when did you last sit with something without naming it? A sound, a scent, the sensation of your own breath. Zen invites you to go deeper than language, to feel before you explain, to witness before you judge. When we sit in silence, we don't become less aware. We become more present. Language can describe. But Zen asks, can you drop the description? If you say, "I am breathing," there is still distance. But if you drop the words and just breathe, you are the breath itself. No separation, no commentary, just being. Try it now. Listen to this moment, not for meaning, just for what it is. the hum of the room, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the softness of your clothing on your skin. This is direct experience. This is Zen. There's a story of a monk who kept asking his teacher, "What is Zen?" The teacher finally said, "Did you hear the sparrow just now?" "Yes." That is all. No quote to remember. No lesson to write down. Just the sound and the awareness of hearing it. The trouble with words is they trap us in concepts. Even peace becomes a goal. Even awakening becomes a chase. Zen reminds us the truth is not a concept. It is a direct meeting with now, not later, not after we understand, but now. Tonight, let go of needing to get it. There is nothing to get. Let the words of this talk pass through you like wind through trees. Don't cling to them. Don't turn them into a belief. Just feel them. And when they fade, stay with what remains. That quiet presence, that soft awareness, that is closer to Zen than any sentence. So lie still now, not reaching for answers, just sensing, just being. There's no need to describe this moment. It is enough to live it. Zen and the art of not knowing. We often believe that peace comes from knowing what to do, what to believe who we are. But Zen smiles and says, not knowing is most intimate. What a strange thing to say. And yet, what if the deepest peace isn't found in answers, but in being completely open? Tonight, we walk into the mystery. No map, no final destination, just a willingness to be present without the need to figure it all out. This is the art of not knowing. A monk once approached the great Zen master, Joshu, and asked, "What is Zen?" Joshu replied, "I don't know." The monk was stunned. "Then why do people call you a Zen master?" Joshu answered, "Because I truly don't know." You see, not knowing isn't ignorance. It isn't confusion. It's freedom. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from certainty. Freedom from always needing control. When we admit we don't know, the world softens. We listen more. We judge less. We become like children, again open, curious, alive. Zen doesn't give you fixed beliefs. It offers a mirror. And when you look into that mirror with the mind of not knowing, you begin to see what's real. Not your ideas, not your fears, just life as it is. This is why the beginner's mind is treasured in Zen. In the beginner's mind, the saying goes, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. The more you think you know, the more closed your world becomes. But when you admit, I don't know what this moment is, you open a door and life rushes in. Tonight, can you rest in that openness? Can you lie there not as someone trying to solve anything, but as someone willing to simply feel the warmth of the air, the weight of the day falling away, the silence between your breaths, all of it unknown and yet deeply known? There's a strange comfort in this. When we stop trying to know, we start to trust. Not in a system, not in a belief, but in the rhythm of reality itself. Like a leaf floating on a stream. No destination, just the movement of now. You don't have to know the meaning of everything tonight. You don't need to explain your pain or justify your joy. Just breathe. Just notice. That's more than enough. Zen doesn't ask you to understand. It asks you to return to return to the mystery of being, over and over again. So as you lie still, now release the mind that wants to grasp. You are not here to solve. You are here to be soft, open, alive, in the not knowing everything is possible, and everything is already enough. The empty cup receiving without holding. There is an old Zen story that begins with a wise professor visiting a Zen master. The professor wanted to understand Zen, so he spoke at length, quoting texts, offering ideas, sharing his theories. The master listened silently. Then he began to pour tea. He poured and poured until the cup overflowed. The professor cried out, "Stop, it's already full." The master smiled. "Just like this cup, you are full of your own opinions. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Tonight we explore the art of emptying, not in a dramatic sense, but gently, patiently, like placing a heavy bag down after a long walk. You may be carrying so much thoughts, expectations, fears, even hopes. Zen doesn't ask you to destroy them, only to put them down for a while. When we come to this moment with an empty cup, we are ready to receive. Not just teachings, not just peace, but presence itself. And presence can only fill an open space. There's a kind of humility in this. To say quietly, I don't need to be full tonight. I don't need to know to explain to cling. Just empty. Just open. Just here. And from this emptiness, a subtle fullness begins to emerge. Not because you gathered anything, but because you stopped resisting what's already here. Zen doesn't add weight to your life. It subtracts, until only what matters remains. Your breath, your stillness, this unfolding moment. We often chase after new teachings, more books, more insight. But sometimes what we need most is not more, but less. Not addition, but subtraction. Like a sculptor chiseling away to reveal the form within the stone. Your true nature isn't something to be built. It's something to be uncovered. And that uncovering begins with emptying. So gently, now let your cup be empty. Let the stories of the day dissolve. Let the roles you've played rest. Let even your name become soft, as if whispered by the wind. Who are you beneath all that don't answer? Just feel. The empty cup is not lonely. It is ready. Ready to be filled by what is real, by what needs no words. The sound of distant wind chimes, the breath rising and falling, the quiet that surrounds everything. Tonight, I invite you to listen from this emptiness, to rest as the cup that holds nothing yet receives everything. And in that space, peace arises not as an achievement, but as your original state, the one that's been here all along. Zen is not a goal, the pathless path. Tonight, let's gently release a common thread. We carry the idea that Zen is something to achieve, some final destination to reach, if only we sit long enough, think deep enough, or get spiritual enough. But Zen quietly whispers, there is no goal, no prize, no ending point, only this moment, and then this one, and then this one. We were taught to measure life in steps forward, climb the mountain, finish the race, collect wisdom like medals. But Zen does not move in straight lines. It is not a ladder, but a circle. Or perhaps even more, simply a breath. In, out, nothing to chase, nothing to catch. There was once a student who asked the master, "How long until I attain enlightenment?" The master replied, 10 years. The student said, "What if I try very hard?" Then 20 years, said the master. Surprised, the student asked, But what if I try even harder than that? Then 30 years came the reply. Trying harder isn't always the way, especially in Zen, because trying implies a future, and Zen lives in now. It doesn't ask you to get somewhere. It invites you to be here. The pathless path means you're already walking it. Even now, lying there in your bed, listening, breathing. You don't need to take a single step to arrive, because where you are is already enough. This may feel strange, even frustrating. We've spent so long believing that peace is somewhere else, out there waiting. But maybe the very effort to find peace is what keeps us from it. Like stirring muddy water, hoping to make it clear. Sometimes, you just need to stop stirring. Let it settle. And in the stillness, clarity comes. So what does Zen offer, if not progress? It offers presence. It offers intimacy. It offers simplicity. It says, you are not broken. This moment is not lacking. Just come back. Again and again. No map required. Even the idea of the Zen path can become another burden, another standard to fail. But what if you stopped walking for a while and just stood still right here and noticed the way the wind moves through the trees, the quiet space between your thoughts, the warmth of your own presence? Zen is not a journey of becoming. It is a journey of remembering, not reaching for some other self, but resting as the self you already are beneath the noise. So tonight, you can let go of the need to arrive. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply here breathing with the universe, and that is more than enough. Sound of one hand, clapping, the mystery beyond logic. There is a famous Zen Koan, a question without a clear answer. What is the sound of one hand clapping? It makes the logical mind stumble. It does not seek to be solved. It seeks to unsettle. Why? Because Zen is not found in logic, not in arguments, explanations, or clever ideas. Zen unfolds in the space before thought. The sound of one hand clapping is not a riddle. It's an invitation to drop your usual ways of knowing, to meet life without needing to name it. Tonight, as you rest, you may notice the mind trying to grasp, trying to get it, to hold an answer like a trophy. But Zen doesn't give you trophies. It hands you silence. It leads you into paradox and says, stay a while. In this tradition, a monk once asked, what is Buddha? The master replied, a dry dung stick, strange, shocking, maybe even disrespectful. No, it's simply an act of cutting the rope of your habitual thinking, of clinging to sacred ideas. Zen does not desecrate. It liberates. It's not irreverent. It's deeply honest. When you drop the filters of logic and analysis, you begin to see with fresh eyes. Like a child who gazes at the sky, not to name the clouds, but to feel their motion. Zen isn't here to teach you about reality. It's here to show you that you are reality, not separate, not observing, but breathing as the same sky, the same breeze, the same moment. The sound of one hand clapping is your own silence, your own presence, unmeasured, unjudged. You are not meant to understand it. You are meant to experience it. That is where Zen lives, in the direct experience of what is, not in your ideas about what is. And so tonight, as your thoughts begin to slow, as the stories soften, you might let yourself rest in that strange open space, the space where nothing is defined, and yet everything feels alive, the space before answers, before words, before you tell yourself who you are. Zen teaches through mystery, through paradox, not to confuse you, but to wake you up, to shake the foundation of your habitual mind, so you can stand barefoot in the mystery and smile. You see, life was never meant to be fully explained, only tasted, only touched. A breeze on the cheek, the sound of rain on the roof, the rhythm of your own breathing. That is enough. That is Zen. So when the world feels too loud with meanings, too full of theories and conclusions, remember this. There is beauty in not knowing. There is freedom in not needing to. Let the Koan echo through you. Let the unanswerable remind you. You are already whole even when you don't understand, especially when you don't understand. Chop wood. Carry water. Zen in the everyday. There is a quiet saying in Zen: before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. At first it may sound simple, even underwhelming, but hidden within it is a profound truth. That Zen is not a special place, not a peak experience, not a glowing halo around your head. It's here, right here, in the ordinary acts we often overlook. Tonight, as you lie still, you may recall the tasks of your day: washing dishes, answering messages, walking from one room to another. And perhaps in those moments, you were waiting for something else, something more. Zen whispers, what if there's nothing more than this? What if this is the sacred? The path of Zen is not found in a temple alone. It's found in how you fold your laundry, in how you sip your tea, in how you pause to feel your breath before the next thing begins. It asks nothing extra of you, only presence. In the monastery, monks rise early, sweep floors, stoke fires, prepare vegetables with quiet hands. Each task is meditation. Each moment is complete. Why? Because in Zen, there is no split between the spiritual and the mundane. The spiritual is the mundane seen clearly. A Zen master once told his student, when walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. It sounds so basic, but how often do we wobble, walking and planning, sitting and worrying, cooking and rushing? Zen invites us to return, fully, to just this. This return is not about slowing down everything. It's about waking up within it. You can walk quickly with presence. You can act with clarity and ease. The key is attention, is intimacy, not being somewhere else while your body moves through the motions. So tomorrow, when you wash your face, feel the water. When you cut vegetables, see the color, smell the earth. And when you're in a conversation, listen truly. That is Zen. Not spectacular, but honest, deep, alive. And if you forget, that's okay. Zen is patient. Forget, return. Forget, return. This gentle rhythm is the path itself. No scolding, no guilt, only awareness and return. Tonight, as you drift, let the rhythm of your breath be your wood and water. Each inhale, chop wood. Each exhale, carry water. No effort, no rush. Just this moment, and then the next. And in that rhythm, may you discover that everything is already whole. Even this quiet moment, this ordinary breath, this simple sacred night. Zen has no destination, resting where you are. Zen does not promise you a future, not a paradise, not a final achievement, not even enlightenment as you might imagine it. Zen does not say you will get there someday. It says you are already here. And the path is not forward, it is inward, It is now. Tonight, as your body softens into the bed, as thoughts unwind and stretch their limbs, you are not going anywhere. You are arriving. Each breath is your homecoming. Each pause is sacred. No more striving. No more fixing. No more chasing after something just beyond reach. You don't need to seek peace. You only need to stop turning away from it. A student once asked the Zen master, "What do you do after awakening?" The master replied, "I rest." It is that simple. We spend our lives climbing, struggling to reach a better version of ourselves, a more peaceful state, a brighter future. But Zen invites you to set the burden down, not because you've given up, but because you've realized you never needed to carry it in the first place. Rest doesn't mean doing nothing. It means no longer resisting what is. You may still act, still care, still serve, but without the tight grip, without the idea that you must become more. Zen says you are enough before the journey starts. Zen says awakening is not far away. It is here, right now, right where you are sitting, or lying, or breathing. Even the question, "How do I get there?" falls away. Because there is an illusion. And this breath, this moment is real. Zen isn't about becoming. It's about being. Being present. Being intimate with what is. Being no one special, doing nothing special. And in that, discovering something truly precious. As your body drifts, let go of all destinations. No goals. No self-improvement plan. No finish line. Just this stillness, this quiet, this room, this night. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to figure it all out. Zen is the art of being okay with not knowing, of bowing to mystery and letting it cradle you. So if your mind asks, "Have I done enough today?" just smile. The moon doesn't ask that. The stars don't need a reason to shine. They just are. And so are you. Enough. Whole. Now, as we close our time together tonight, remember, the door to peace isn't locked. It was never closed. It simply asks that you be here, just as you are, without defense, without expectation. So close your eyes now, if they aren't already closed, and rest. Zen has no destination. It only asks that you stop running and come home. Let your breath be soft now, like the tide gently kissing the shore of your body. Let the rhythm slow, and your mind settle like snow falling in a quiet forest. No thoughts to chase, no stories to hold, only this softness, only this sacred pause. If you remember anything from tonight, let it be this. You don't need to become perfect. You don't need to reach some magical state. You only need to return. Return to now. Return to presence. Return to the stillness within you that has always been waiting. Zen is not far away. It's as close as this breath, this heartbeat, this quiet surrender. You've done enough today. You've walked far enough. You've asked enough questions. Now rest. Let the night hold you. Let peace arrive without you forcing it. And as you drift, remember, the truth cannot always be spoken, but it can be felt. In the silence, in the space between words, in the warmth of your own being. So rest in that truth, and let it carry you through the night. Everything is enough now. Everything is still. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a peaceful night.